Lo and behold, I think we may have started alive without massive complications. Let's see. Freddie Mayer, hello good people. I see your comment, Freddie. Can you hear me? Let's see. It shows me that there's 5 people in here. Is it working? Can you talk to me, folks? 3 people now. You're on. Thank you, Scott Miller. Appreciate that. You know what? I think I'm going to turn off the heaters inside. Let me show you what I got going on in here. This is kind of fascinating. The little Viver heater. Hi there, Audrey. Audrey's in Anchorage. So let me tell you about this heater. It's been running nonstop for like 4 days now. I'm going to turn it off so it's not making noise. It says stop heating, off. We're going to turn the volume down. I'm going to turn this heater off too, so we can have some quiet. It's a little bit dusty in here because I just finished sanding literally minutes ago and just blew off the hull with the air nozzle, and so the dust is still settling a bit. Audrey will be in the comments if anyone wants to, let's see, if anyone wants to say hi, unless we can figure out this video collaboration thing. Yeah, I tried to invite her. She's in Anchorage. I'm in Wrangell, in the shipyard, on the Alaskan Gypsy. Well, I'm on the concrete next to the Alaskan Gypsy. The first thing I gotta tell you is, what do you think of my new sweater? Audrey hasn't seen this sweater. I thought it kind of looks like a sailor sweater. Here, I'll stand back. Check this out. Do I look like a sailor? Do you think this is a women's sweater? It's got this crazy angle to it. It's actually quite funny. I was digging through the rag bin. I have a bag of rags from the thrift store, and I needed a new rag. And I pulled this thing out, and I was like, oh, that looks kind of nice. I paid $5 for a trash bag full of rags, but so far I found 2 shirts for Audrey, a dress, and now I got this sweater that I just used for sanding for the last couple hours. It's got a hood on it, so that was nice. Kept the dust out of my beautiful Yeti Bigfoot hairdo. So anyhow, you're not here to look at my wardrobe and hair probably, so let's look at the boat. I'll show you what I was up to. Thanks, Freddie. So what you're looking at here is a boat that has a heavy love investment going in the last 5 days. I don't know how many hours I've worked. Audrey could probably think about it, but it's been sort of madness. I've been really trying to get this fairing done, and unfortunately, it's been a life of hard, let's see, what's the saying? The school of hard knocks, life school. But I'll tell you, the deal is I made some pretty serious errors that weren't really mistakes on the boat so much as just really increasing the amount of work that I have to do on the project. And I can explain this to you. So the reason that we're here in the shipyard in Wrangell, Alaska, sorry for the folks that have heard this 20 times already, but the reason we're here, I'm going to turn the camera on, is because this beautiful boat behind me, labor of love, absolutely, the Alaskan Gypsy, it's an 80-foot steel triple-masted schooner designed by Thomas Colvin, and it was meticulously maintained. It was launched in '92 in Anchorage, Alaska, and meticulously maintained for 20, 22, 25 years, something like that. And according to the marine surveys I've read about it, it was an example of a well cared for ship. So reason to believe there was essentially nothing wrong with the hull. It was well maintained. I actually read in the owner's notes that he sandblasted the entire boat above the waterline 7 years after he launched it because he didn't like the way the paint was weathering. So this guy, Dave Hershert of Dave's Welding in Anchorage, really seemed like he was into his maintenance and had a lot of pride in this boat. So anyhow, well maintained. New owner takes over and gets really, he's dreaming of sailing the Alaskan Gypsy around Alaska, living on board, and living out his Jacques Cousteau childhood dreams. His name was Bill Gann, a wonderful guy, and life got in the way of what you might call regular maintenance, and he wasn't able to organize the time to get the Gypsy onto the grid, the tidal grid, to change the zincs. And so what happened is it sat in the Ketchikan Harbor, and the electrolysis basically attacked the hull and created a lot of severe pitting or divots. Basically, the steel melted away and left these holes, kind of craters. I can show you, actually, there's a spot up there where I can show you one. Let's see, I'll flip the cam. That heater is talking to me. The weird thing is, it's telling me goodbye. I wish you a safe journey. That is actually not one of the divots. That is actually, I think, rust corrosion, but it kind of looks similar because that's above the water line. But that's one I haven't addressed yet. It's been sandblasted, but it has not been faired or anything. So the process has looked like spots like that on the hull down here under the water line. They were sandblasted out, and that's a long story of how I resisted sandblasting. Not really resisted, but didn't know it was really possible within my budget. So anyhow, finally I sandblasted and then put this green paint on there, which is Demet Coat inorganic zinc rich primer, on the hull everywhere that was sandblasted the same day of sandblasting. And then everywhere that there was some divots, we put 240 LT. Thanks, Terry. 240 LT epoxy barrier over. And then this gray that you're seeing here was sprayed by Dawn's guys at Superior Marine here in Wrangell, sprayed a heavy coat of 240 LT epoxy barrier paint all over the entire hull below the waterline. And this was taped until a couple hours ago. I pulled the tape off. And then I started the fairing. So bear with me. I started mixing up the fairing. I'll show you what it was. It's an all grip product. It's called All Fair. And it basically is like high quality Bondo. Epoxy Bondo pretty much is what that stuff is. It's awesome, spreads super nice. Even looks like Bondo, acts like Bondo. It's just higher quality, stronger, more adhesion, and more flexible, less brittle. And so that's what all this pink stuff is. And here's the mistake. This is what I've learned over the last 4 days. I've been in kind of a rush because I've been running heat inside this plastic tent to keep it warm, because the epoxy wants to be at about 70 is what it loves to be at. And we've been able to keep it about, I think, let's check the temperature. I think I've been keeping it in the 60s. And it's been a challenge because, here I can see what the temperature is. Let's see. Look at that. 67 degrees. The hull is 67, which is just perfect for the epoxy. It's been really windy out, really windy and rainy, but not super cold. So I'd say we're kind of fortunate. So I've been putting the fairing on, and what I did is I put on too much. I put on a light first coat, and then I did a sand, but I didn't sand enough off. And so then I put on what I thought was going to be my last coat, but yeah, reading comments. But actually I hadn't done adequate sanding between my coats. And part of the reason, because I was using a sander, an electric sander, which it's a Bosch sander. I'll show it to you. Yeah, Freddie, I think, I'm not sure. It's not Bondo, it's epoxy All Fair. Freddie Mayer asked what temperature range. It loves 70 degrees. It gets really slow in the high 40s, like probably would take days. and 58 is what Don at Superior Marine said is kind of the minimum for that stuff. So I've been keeping it plenty warm. Those 2 heaters have been doing the job. But here's the sander that I was using right here. This is a great electric sander. I love it. It's the Bosch Get 756. It's a dual mode sander, also known as like a DA. It has a turbo mode and a regular mode. The turbo mode forces rotation of the disc, and so it's quite aggressive, can remove a lot of material. It's got a great vacuum system, and there's the hose. And I have it set up with an auto vacuum switch so that whenever I turn on the sander, it turns on the vacuum. These things are amazing if you've never seen one. It's called an iVac switch box. Here's my vacuum, and here's another incredible tool. If you're not familiar with this, the Oneida Air Systems Dust Deputy. This thing, let me explain real quick. It sucks the dust in here from the sander. It spins around the vortex and then falls down into the bucket. And the hose from the vacuum sucks the air up through the center of the vortex and deposits all of the sanding dust in the bucket and keeps your vacuum clean. The filter can even stay clean in there. So that's the sander I was using, which I love that sander. I've used it a ton. But sanding this much epoxy putty was quite honestly too much for it. Too much for me. That thing is pretty heavy with the vacuum attached. It's wonderful. It's like a dust-free environment. There was basically hardly any dust in here whatsoever before. I love that sander for wood and a lot of things, but holding it overhead for 4 hours at a time, sanding this entire 56 feet of steel hull clearly was too much because I didn't remove enough material with it. And in my lack of knowledge, I'm a beginner at this. I'm learning as I go. I'm not a body guy. If you're an auto body person or anything, you probably would have immediately known I was goofing up, and you should have told me. But I was putting on too much material and not sanding enough between coats. And so what happened is I just started building up too much material, which was not the goal. I was really just supposed to be filling the divots, not making mounds wherever there was a divot. So my mistake, and basically I wasted a lot of time and worked really hard. And it's okay, I didn't hurt myself, which is fortunate because we don't have time for injuries. I don't have any pulled muscles, my back's feeling good, and I'm probably gonna be really in pretty good shape after this, but it was a big waste of time. And today, Don at Superior Marine came over because I thought I was about ready to paint. And he basically, long story short, told me that's going to look terrible. If I come in here and paint this, it's going to look terrible. If you were my customer and this was my project, there's no way I would ever paint it. And he's not really, he doesn't communicate the best with me. See you later, Don. And so it took me a while to understand what he was getting at, but basically he was saying that it needs to look very different. This is how it needs to look. Need to be able to see the outline of every little divot. Wherever there was a divot, he wants to be able to see where it was just like that. None of this kind of, this type of thing where it's just a fade of fairing compound and paint, because usually this is a bump. In this particular instance, there's actually a shallow depression around this weld seam here. So this is actually, I'm okay with, and I think even Don will be okay with. But wherever there was a divot, it's supposed to look more like this. And I didn't know that. I should have, but I didn't. And I was kind of blinded by how it just was not working at all to sand with my other sander. So what I ended up doing is when he was like, hey, this is gonna look terrible, I said, well, I don't want it to look terrible. Tell me how to make it look good. I mean, come on. I'm not afraid of hard work, obviously. I'm starting to wonder if I'm Norwegian or something. So he said, well, your sander's terrible. And I said, okay, well, I like that sander, but all right, if it's terrible, tell me what's good. I'd like to know how to do this right. So long story short, this is what is good. This is an air-powered DA sander. It actually has a vacuum hookup. I've never owned one of these. I've used one a tiny bit at one point somewhere, and I was impressed. This thing weighs like maybe a pound and a half. It's very light. You just hook the air hose up to it, and you can hook a vacuum up to it too. Probably my vacuum would hook in there, but the beauty of this thing is it's so light. And not only that, it spins extremely fast. I think it's 12,500 RPM. Somewhere I saw on it. Max 2 RPM, somewhere. Anyhow, I guess it doesn't matter, but the thing spins like, 2,000? No, yeah, 12,000 RPM. 12,000 RPM. So it runs the same pads as my other sander, a 6-inch. I'm running 60 grit. I got a lot of sand pads here. I've tried a lot of different things. But anyhow, so this thing made this so much easier. He came in and showed me how it should look, and I said, can I buy one of those from you? And so he walked me over into his room of sanders, which has like 10 of those things, and he said, I might have a new one. I said, sign me up. If you can sell it to me at even a semi-reasonable cost, I need that. Anyhow, he sold me one, $320, and since then I've sanded the entire bottom of the boat again. But honestly, it was a pleasure. It took me probably about maybe 4 or 5 hours today to sand the entire bottom, and I removed a lot of material. I know you see the floor down there is all pink. I took a ton off. Scott Miller. I'm no expert, but I start working Bondo with a longboard with a cheese grater blade. Yeah, well, you probably know more than me. I think what happens is people, even the people in the shipyard here, think I either know what I'm doing or think I know what I'm doing. And neither one of those is true. I guess there's not very many people that are crazy and fearless enough to come into the shipyard with a project like this and just go at it themselves. So I think that they just assume that I have some experience or knowledge on these things, which I have a small amount of both, I suppose. But anyhow, it's been a lot of learning the last few days and exercise, but I think that I've arrived at a product that is going to look good after it's painted. What do you guys think? Does anybody on there know what it should look like? Because man, I obviously needed some advice. I can tell you it's very smooth, very smooth. All these spots are like, ooh, they're smooth. One of the things about this boat is it's not like it is without any contours. I mean, it's an old steel boat. It's not perfectly flat. The curves aren't perfect or anything. So I'm not trying to achieve like a yacht style mirror finish or anything. I just am trying to get something that doesn't look like it got Bondo smeared on it by a hack, which is actually what happened. So we're trying to avoid that. But if you look back at any of the old videos from this boat, I looked at an old photo of the Gypsy recently, and it about made me quiver how bad this bottom looked. It looked terrible. And honestly, I looked at it. Freddie, the man have a will to save his boat. The rest is life lessons in the making. Yeah, lots of lessons. I've learned a lot here. Sandblast, air-powered DA. Those are my two biggest ones recently. But, the boat was looking awful. Hello, Chris's world. We're in Wrangell, Alaska. Yeah, build a shelter. Audrey pointed out, yeah. Build a shelter, sandblast immediately, and then use air-powered sanding equipment. I don't know, I've learned a lot of other stuff, but that's a starter course. That's what you need to know day one. So if anybody's familiar with this type of stuff, let me know, because Dawn's gonna come over here tomorrow morning and probably tell me what a terrible job I've done again. But I wanna, you know, it would be amazing if one day he looked at my work and said, good job. I don't think he'll ever do that. I don't think he does that. His employees even told me that he's hard to please, and I'm not even working for him. So anyhow, I appreciate the support he's been giving me. Well, there it is, folks. There's the hull at the end of the day, at the end of a lot of days of sanding. And I think that I'm going to probably re-tape the waterline That's the green is the Demet coat, the primer, and the red is just the original paint, which needs redone. But we're gonna try and finish out the bottom entirely before we move on to anything above. So here's my tape down here, and that's probably something I'll do in the morning, I guess. Scott Miller, you can try a guide coat to highlight the finished quality. It doesn't take much to show up any serious flaws. I bet. I wonder what a guide coat would look like. I guess if it was something I could spray on and then sand off so that it just kind of showed me what I had going on. That's an interesting idea. Never heard of that, but that sounds like a good thing. What I'm going with is Don's opinion. But I only get like one opinion per day, and it's usually like, oh, hey, what you're doing will look awful. So I'm gonna turn this heater back on, and I'm actually gonna probably leave the boat here, or go out of the tent. So start heating, it says. Let's check the fuel. Oh yeah, it looks like it's almost empty. Thing runs for 10 hours on that little tank. Look how small the tank is. It's got this little 1.2 gallon tank. It's plugged into 110 power right now, and it also runs off a battery. Make you think without a box. Don is always trying to put me in the box, the penalty box, for being a sailboat owner and not having to do all the work, I think. But I appreciate all of his advice, and he's got all the tools, he's got all the stuff, and if I just understood what he thought I should do from the very beginning, I would have saved myself a tremendous amount of pain. Can anyone survey the hull to point out any potential red flags? Is there anyone with a way to measure the steel thickness? I've already had the steel thickness measured, and the results of that, it was a surveyor, Josh Johnson, was that it made it pretty clear that all of the thin points that we could see were in fact the thin points. There wasn't any surprises that we discovered in the survey. And so it was just, once it was sandblasted, particularly, it was extremely obvious exactly what was going on. It's kind of different than rust corrosion. Looking real good. Won't be looking at that paint a whole lot once. No kidding. It's not like rust corrosion. It was really pretty specific. The way electrolysis attacked this boat is, it was like it got shot by guns over and over. There was just the holes. And everywhere else it was in pretty great shape. So I'm just out here grabbing the diesel jug so I can fill that little heater up. Check this out. The moon. It's not raining right now. That's really something. I'm gonna try and keep the boat warm for the night, even though I don't think I'm actually gonna use any more fairing compound. I'm gonna keep it nice and warm so the paint cures really quick tomorrow, and we can probably do bottom paint. Lost my train of thought. The moon. Haven't seen the moon in a while. It's been really storming here lately. Oh, AK Flyer, you mentioned won't be seeing this much, and that's absolutely the truth. Audio gauge is how you measure it. Yeah, that's what we had done as an audio gauge, ultrasound or whatever. I gotta say, everything I've heard since then and have learned from that is a visual inspection from an experienced eye is probably worth a lot more than an audio gauge. But nice secondary, and it's obviously what the insurance companies want, so not the worst thing, but also not the best thing. I'm gonna pour a gallon of diesel in this little bugger. And then we'll leave the tent. Look for a little walk outside, maybe even. Hang on. Almost full. There we go. Good for another 10 hours. Run till morning. See how much water is in here? It's been raining so much the ground is just like flooded. I gotta stay back a little bit or talk quieter when I come in close. Thanks for the tip. Uh-oh. Lost me. Can anybody let me know if I'm still live here? May have lost you all. Check, check. You still with me? Okay, we're online. Okay, so we're gonna leave the heaters going. Do the bears ever poke around? You're live. Thank you, Iggy Flyer. Thank you, Freddie. Hi, Mad Kiwi. Okay, 5x5. Oh, sending them good to go. Thank you, guys. Sorry, Audrey messaged and said that I'd gone, but we're gonna get out of the tent, get out of the dust. We can go outside again. Man, haven't been able to go outside in a long time. For those of you who are joining, Audrey is actually in Anchorage. She's up there for her daughter's birthday. And I'm here in the Wrangell, Alaska Shipyard. And behind me, I'll give you a little forward camera view. Not at a real Anchorage, she said. Yeah, the boat's from Anchorage. Though it says Ketchikan on it now. There's our shelter tent all lit up. And the beautiful Gypsy with its little dinghy hanging off the back. Got our airplane stairs. The triple mast piercing up into the darkness of the sky. It's pretty awesome. This is an amazing boat. I'll tell you something funny. This boat right here is called the Ronnie Ray. And the Ronnie Ray was tied up right next to the Alaskan Gypsy in the Ketchikan Harbor. And now they're sitting next to each other in the Wrangell Shipyard. What are the chances? Thought that was pretty funny. The Ronnie Ray just had her bottom painted. But check out that tent all lit up with those lights. It's looking pretty cool. It's nice to be able to come outside tonight. It's been blowing and raining nonstop for how long, Audrey? Like 5 days? It's been brutal. There she is. The Alaskan Gypsy. Look at those masts. Crazy. 4 or 5 days, yeah. Yeah, Mad Kiwi made a song for us about the Gypsy, and I heard that song, Craig. I listened to it. I think I liked the one that you liked. I thought it was great. That was a fun song. We'll figure out a way to share it. It was quite funny. You had done a great job on that. The picture need a professional industrial. That picture need a professional industrial photo. Oh yeah. No, you're right. I should. It's not blowing rain. I actually have my real camera. I could get it out and take that photo. I agree. That's a good one for the memory books. The late night shifts in the Wrangell Shipyard. A little tour of the boat. There's all the fuel. I had to pump all the fuel out of the fuel tanks because one of them started leaking when I was pressure washing it. So we had to empty the fuel tanks. And so all the fuel that was on board is now in these drums on the deck. There's the extra clothes washer that was stuffed in the bathroom sauna thing. Check this out. Look at, the Gypsy has 2 anchor winches. 2 drum style anchor winches. It's amazing. Never seen a sailboat with 2 winches. Look at that thing. This is an awesome boat. I'm very inspired by it. I can't wait to have it out in the ocean again. And it's starting to feel like it won't be too long now. Oh man, it's a quiet night. It's Halloween here in Wrangell, Alaska. I'm not really into this holiday, but it's surprisingly quiet out. Here's our little wheelhouse with our 90s technology. 2 anchors, what size? They're custom made Danforth anchors, AK Flyer. I think they're 250 pounds each. They were made by Dave, who built the boat. And I've never been a huge fan of Danforth, but 2 custom Danforth is pretty good. I'm not going to complain about that. I think that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to set the camera up here. Oh, there we go. Look forward to seeing how those anchors function. exploring some places in Southeast. One of the first places that we want to go is out to Hot Spring. You do have an absolutely amazing boat, and that tech soon to be upgraded. Yeah, no kidding. Well, the funny thing about a lot of the technology in this wheelhouse is it's so dated. Most of it can be replaced just by an iPad. But yeah, I got something I haven't got into is the sounders or whatever, the depth finders. I haven't even looked at them to see if I should probably be replacing them while I'm here, but I haven't really looked into it. There's a lot of things like that. It's like, oh man, I'm out of the water. I should take this opportunity to do this and this and this and this, but I've just been so busy working on the hull, trying to take care of the metal, because I figure if we don't have good steel under the water, then it's not worth spending the time on all this other stuff. So trying to keep the priorities focused and get the stuff that's not optional done as soon as possible. And then I'm probably gonna need a break, a little bit of time to go and enjoy this whole thing. Tim is the thing. Is that time? What does that mean? Oh, message retracted. I saw it before you retracted it, Freddie. So there's a time is the thing. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we're looking forward to doing, and there's a lot of things that I'm not going to get around to doing here in the shipyard because got to keep things in balance. And we didn't get this boat so that we could work on it in the shipyard forever. And this has been quite a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of investment. And I think I'd rather come back to the shipyard next year after maybe my finances have recovered a bit and after I've had a little bit more fun on the boat, because I love this kind of work. Actually, this is not miserable time to me at all. It's an enjoyable process, and I actually pretty much like every part of it. It's very satisfying for me to be working towards the dream like this. But we're a little out of balance. It's a lot of the working and not much of the living the dream part. So I think it would be a lot more enjoyable to come into the shipyard in June or July when it's warm and sunny and spend a week, maybe 2 weeks doing a project on the boat and then just go back in the water. It's like, that would be amazing. I think I'd be so refreshed and recharged from living the boat life, and being able to work on it would be wonderful. It always is. It's always feel good to move towards your dreams, even if it's a small step at a time. But being able to balance things out a little bit more. This is like building the foundation. It feels like, even though the boat's here and we have the whole thing, it's felt like we couldn't really enjoy it yet because it's needs too much critical foundational work. But that'll be behind us here before long. I got a prop shaft is getting made in Washington area by Kruger and Sons, and it's going to cost about probably I would guess $5,500 to get it shipped up here complete. So that's a big step. I was afraid I was going to end up more like $8,000, but reading some comments, but found a better deal shopping around a bit, and they might have a prop for me, a used prop, which would be great. Just kind of hoping to keep that whole prop and shaft thing under 10,000, and my paint is probably going to end up, my painting and sandblasting is probably going to end up around, might be as much as 15,000, 25,000, and then all of the other incidentals. So I'm thinking probably this shipyard experience, I'm hoping I can get out of here for less than 50,000. We'll see. Which in the scheme of things is not much for what it is accomplishing. And if I had to hire all this work out, thank God for my good health and the ability to do this work, because I'd have 50,000 in labor in the first month probably. But instead we're able to save that money and spend it on the materials. And well, there's also the whole thing of I got to pay for the space here too, $1,600 a month. So there's a few thousand in that. I've been here since July, but anyhow, I'm getting lost in the numbers. Nobody was even asking. I'm just thinking it through. So someone asked about the Patreon, and I did sign up for a Patreon account, and I don't really quite understand how it works. I don't have anything that I want to. I don't know what I would even do on there. Like I don't have the capacity right now to start offering like members only exclusive content. I'm pretty much sharing everything that I can, doing as much as possible with the resources I have. So, but I think I'll get Audrey. She's going to be in charge of the Patreon thing. But I think initially maybe we'll just set it up to where it's like, hey, if you want to go over there and support us, you can. We might not have anything special to give you yet, but we'll think about it and work on it and figure out what we can do. AK Fire, that's how I found this channel. The Sandblast quote from my boat damn near gave me a heart attack. Well, where were you looking at getting sandblasted, AK Flyer? Do they sandblast in Cordova? I know there's not very many places in the world where it's even an option. That's kind of the thing. I'll tell you the deal with me in Cordova. So when I first got in the shipyard here, I was talking to Don, and he has I think the way that he approaches talking to a new customer is to basically scare them to death with the price so that he doesn't have to scare them to death with the bill. And also, communication is not his strong point. So I came to the incorrect conclusion that I could not afford to sandblast. I thought it would cost at least $50,000, and that was about as much as I had to spend on the entire project, and there was no way I was going to be able to get it painted after it was blasted and I'd have a boat that was just sitting there rusting. So that wasn't an option. But then the mystery machinist here basically took some interest in myself in this project and advised that sandblasting was really the only thing that was going to save this boat for more than just a year or two, and there was a way that I could do it incrementally. And through the turn of events, I came to find out that I could rent the sandblast machine. I could build my own shelter tent, and I could rent the sandblast and buy the sand and actually just sandblast this thing myself with Don's at Superior Marine, or Dave Miller at Dave's Welding and Repair was willing to rent me his sandblast setup too. And it was about, with sand for a day, was about probably about $2,000. So if you can build your own shelter tent on your boat here to contain the mess, and if they'll let you rent the stuff, couple $1,000, and you can do a lot of sandblasting. It's a lot of work. You got to do the blasting, which is pretty intense, but very, very satisfying. And then you got to do a lot of cleanup. Thanks to my dad for coming and helping. He was here during that madness of getting ready to sandblasting, then cleaning up. But I got to say, for what you get out of it, unbelievable value. I wouldn't think about doing anything like this without that. So if at all possible for you to consider doing the sandblasting, I'm a huge sandblast fan now. I didn't know about it. I didn't know the power of it before, but now I sure do. And Wrangell's a great place for it. If you can get your boat to Wrangell to sandblast it, highly recommended. And you got a nice concrete slab to do it on. The weather's rainy but pretty nice here. If you came in the summer, it'd be a breeze. But well, it's a breeze now, but a wet, cold one. So yeah, it's actually not crazy expensive and unbelievable. There's just nothing like it. That's what they told me. I'm a believer now. Just like that air-powered sander versus my old electric. I have learned, I've seen the light. And like Audrey was saying, get your boat hauled out, build a shelter around it on day 1, and sandblast on day 2. Do all your work, whatever you want to do on it, and then you have started from the best possible foundation. We didn't get a discount on the sandblaster. That's the rate around here. They don't rent their sandblasters out to just anybody. But you know, if you show up with decent respect and skills, I think that they would rent it. And about $4.50 a day or something is kind of the rate. So at least for now. So anyhow, there's a sandblast on the Sandblasting Evangelist. Oh, anything else? Any questions? Anybody want to hear me ramble on about anything else? I think we're fortunate to have been able to rent the Sandblaster. Yeah, you're welcome, AK Flyer. I mean, I'm happy. If you ever want to call me or email too to talk about it, I'd be more than happy to. If anybody's watching this thinking about coming to Wrangell and wondering what it's like from a fellow boat owner, give me a call or send an email. And my email address is on our YouTube page, scott@alaskanviking.com, and be happy to explain my experience here. It's kind of, I wish I could have talked to a boat owner before I came here and just kind of got the down low on like who's who and what can I expect, because it's pretty confusing when you come into the yard for the first time with your boat, and like what services are available and how much do they cost and who should you talk to, and like, is there the only one guy who does sandblasting? There's just a lot of stuff you learn being here doing the work that it would be so much easier for me to come back at this point. It's almost like I want to offer consulting to people coming to the shipyard, so that I can explain some of these things I've learned slowly over the course of months. the personal dynamics of the service providers here is one of the main things to learn. Everybody's different. They all have their strengths and quirks, and navigating that has been a big part of my journey here. Just kind of figuring out how to talk to, who to talk to get the job done. So anybody have any, sandblasting, sorry. If you have any questions, shoot them in the comments. I'm watching the comments. I'm probably going to wrap up here pretty soon unless somebody inspires me with the topic to cover, and work on making some deer for dinner. Still got plenty of deer meat hanging, and Ben and Jerry's ice cream is still on sale, so don't tell Audrey, but I already ate most of a little tub of ice cream. Ha! It was like an early dinner. But I think the sanding is hopefully done. Dale, when are you going to paint? Well, if Dawn comes over tomorrow and says that the guys are available to spray, and he accepts my sanding job, there's a chance we could paint the bottom tomorrow, which would be a really heavy coat of barrier coat epoxy, which would be a PPG product 240 LT is the name. Audrey's talking nonsense in the comments. I didn't eat that whole chocolate bar. But I mean, come on, give me a break. Look how hard I've been working. Can have some ice cream and a chocolate. Goodness. Just kidding. So back to the paint would be good luck with Don and Dale. Do you know Don? Don is a funny guy. Incredible resource, and he's been very generous with his time. But it's a funny dynamic working with him. So, okay, so if you don't know him, well, probably have avoided some heartache. If we can paint tomorrow, if he approves my sanding job, it will be a heavy coat of spray on epoxy barrier, and then later in the day, probably bottom paint, because I've never been to Wrangell. It's called Wrangell, but Wrangell is funny. So the epoxy barrier, when you do your final coat of that, which technically this could be our final coat, then before it's completely cured, you spray the bottom paint on, the anti-foul bottom paint. So if we do get the epoxy on and it looks okay, if it doesn't need to cure and let me sand it some or anything, then probably later in the day, because I got the boat warm, later in the day we'll spray the bottom, and it's like mind-blowing. Think about that. The bottom of the boat could be done tomorrow. Just let that sink in. We could go all the way to bottom paint tomorrow, possibly. That's kind of a mind bender for me. What an incredible feeling of accomplishment that would be to, and it's like I can't touch it then, it's done. Like I just had to keep my hands off it. I just walk around and stroke it probably. Just imagine. It'll be so amazing to see that thing finished. But there's lots of, I got to do above the water line. So once that's done, then I would tape over the bottom paint and start working above where I need to do some fairing and primer and all this stuff. So that's where we're at. And then inside, I still have a lot of stuff to do. Yeah, it'll be an incredible milestone. I mean, wow, that's what we're here for. I mean, all this other stuff I'm doing is kind of incidental to a certain extent. We're here to get the bottom taken care of, and once it's bottom painted, once it has its anti-foul paint on it, it's done. There's nothing else to do. I can bolt the zincs on, and I could pretend I'm like these other boats that come in and have their bottom cleaned, painted, and then they go back in the water like it's no big deal. I've been here for months, but there's a lot of other stuff. So I just got engine control or engine mounts. If not sure, just got you're a saver of great sloop. Not sure what you guys are talking about there. I got some Berry control engine mounts for the Cummins engine, and when the new shaft arrives, we'll be able to put the engine on these much better quality new mounts, and we'll go from 6 kind of junky mounts to only 4 mounts for the engine and the transmission, and we'll get the new shaft aligned with the help of the masterful mystery machinist of Wrangell. He'll coach me on getting it tuned up just right, and if we get a prop, if we get a prop, then basically I need to put some through holes on those new through holes I welded in, which I have a video on that hopefully I'll finish editing at some point and share with you guys. But I'll put some new through holes in, shut the valves on them, because I'm not going to hook up the head, the toilet, and all that stuff yet anyhow, but I just need to obviously not let the ocean flood the boat. And it would be ready to go back in the water with the new shaft and hang the rudder. But shaft, rudder, propeller, a couple of through holes threaded on with the valves shut off, and the boat will be ready for the water. Zincs, bolt on new zincs. I got to buy the new zincs. And I got to pay for the new rudder post the machinist is doing, and his help in doing the alignment. So there's another few $1,000s there, since it's accounting, Halloween accounting, trick or treat. There's a couple comments there. Let me look back. Wow, that'd be a milestone. I'm not sure you mean Mad Kiwi. Just ask Scott, your savior of great soup. Thank you, I appreciate that. The boat has inspired me to work like a dog. Like nothing ever. You may have even time for the head before. Yeah, I don't know. Man, if the bottom is painted, people probably won't laugh at me when I say I hope to be in the water by Thanksgiving, huh? The joke will be over. I'm trying to get the comments to come back up, sorry. I don't really understand what I have to do to get them to come back up, so I just tap at it until they appear. Did you get front bow thruster pump out, or are you going to use a stern anchor? I'm just going to drive this thing like a boat, and I don't need a bow thruster and a stern anchor. The only reason I would use the bow thruster, I think, would be is getting to the dock when it's windy or too much current. So I removed all that stuff, and you know what I want in there? Sorry, I'm trying to do this. Try to sit still here. I want to put an air compressor down there where that bow thruster was, and have a good high volume air compressor so I can run a needle gun and my new DA sander because I got a lot of work to do on this boat above the water, on the decks, in the holds. The water tanks are in terrible shape. Um, there's tons of stuff that I need to work on, or I would look forward to working on. There's these really nice deck boxes on the about midship that need some serious rebuilding. Well, there's a ton of stuff I want to do, and having air compressor would be really nice. So, and I got a nice spot for it. Yeah, bow thruster is gone. I'm gonna try and get these comments. AK Flyer stainless through holes. No, I just did. I did one schedule 80, just steel, and then one schedule 40, and this whole, there's a lot of people that'll tell you don't put stainless on your steel boat. It is more noble than steel and sets up a galvanic corrosion thing. It's like a battery cell, and this somehow the steel, the stainless and the salt water and the steel uses the steel like yeah, sorry, I sound like a fool. I don't know, but there's definitely a lot of people that say you should not have stainless below the water on your steel boat, I think is what they say. But then also there's people around here who have stainless on their boat below water and have had it there for years, and they don't seem to be having any problem with it. So I don't know. There's a lot of conflicting information and strong opinions on both sides of just about every topic. So I did not do stainless. I think I'll do stainless valves though. And there was brass valves in here, and brass is more noble than stainless, and so theoretically brass should be even worse than stainless as far as that galvanic corrosion thing. So there didn't really seem to be any corrosion beyond just the normal electrolysis around those through holes. So I don't think the brass was causing a problem, and I think I'll switch to stainless because these brass ones are pretty buggered up. They're not really in that good a shape anymore. Pickup bed paint is good stuff. I'm not sure where I would put that, but probably gonna stick with these marine epoxies from PPG because they're so proven and people are familiar with them. The bow thruster is, that's right, that bow thruster is gone. Bow thruster delete. Yeah, the silent compressors. I know there's the ones, California Air Tools has kind of innovated those, and I had helped my dad get one, and they are very quiet and high output. Super nice. Dissimilar metals is the thing. Yeah, I don't really know. It seems like it's a little bit like bananas on boats, because there's a lot of people here. This one guy, his name is Les. He has been fishing for many years on steel boats, working in Alaska, and he's like, I'll tell you two things, Scott. Do whatever the machinist tells you. He's the smartest guy in the shipyard, and he knows his stuff, and whatever he tells you, that's gold. Do it. And number two, every piece of steel that you take off your boat, replace it with stainless. So that's his thing. And I said, well, what about this dissimilar metals thing? And he goes, I don't know. I've been doing this he goes, all I can tell you is everything I replaced in steel because it had corroded away again. And when I replaced it in stainless, it's still okay. And he was talking about some handrails and stuff. And I said, well, is the steel around it corroding away instead of the stainless now? And he said, I haven't noticed that. So at the end of the day, I guess all of this these conflicting conflicting opinions, I just kind of am thinking I just go with the one that's tried and true through experience. And I know every boat is different and my results may be different, but you can't really argue with the guy who says it's been working for me for 30 years, right? I don't know. So this comment thing is kind of annoying. I do not know why it will not keep the comments up there for me to look at them. Let's see. Live chat. Let's see if I can find out how top chat. All messages are visible. Maybe this will work. Okay. AK Flyer. We use stainless so it won't get eaten by the salt water below the water. I know. But does that stainless cause your steel to get eaten alive? So regarding that, I did decide to put stainless I welded on stainless zinc anode studs. So we'll see how that goes. I think it'll be fine. I think that's what was on here before, and they didn't seem like they had caused any problems with the steel hull. Different kinds of stainless. Pick the forever one. Okay, yeah, forever one is 316, not 304, as far as this different stainless types. Bonding the metals is important, and the metal worker is 100% correct. He got the experience. The metal worker. Les, the boat owner? I don't know who you mean by metal worker. But can you paint the inside of the water tanks with pool liner? Oh, I need to deal with the corrosion first. They got some rust in them. So I think I could paint them with just about anything once they were clean and free of rust. But am I realistically going to be able to get in there and get all the rust out? Probably not that practical. So I probably will paint them with an epoxy sealer to start with. I might use a rust converter on them first, and I'll probably paint them with a Amber seal. Is this basically, it's just like epoxy, but it seals them and supposedly prevents them from rusting more. And then I'll probably paint them with epoxy, probably just 240 LT, and they might be kind of smelly, but we're not going to be drinking that water, and it'll 240 LT sets up pretty hard pretty fast, and I think that's what I'll likely end up doing, unless I heard, this is kind of interesting, someone told me that you can just smear Portland cement on the inside of your water tanks, and I researched this a bit. That was Scott Fratcher told me that, and it sounds like it was popular amongst the tugboaters and old world boat guys because it's basically free and it lasts for a few years, and it's essentially non-toxic compared to more normal paints, and it apparently works good even over a kind of rusty surface. So that's pretty cool, but I think I'll probably end up going to the, hopefully the more long-lasting system. I don't really want to get into those tanks again, and I'll probably do an epoxy. Freddie says bonding the metals is important. Oh, sorry, I already read that one. One sailor I heard saying copper is ideal to prevent marine growth. Is that possible? Yeah, so regarding copper, copper is used in the anti-fouling paints, and it does prevent marine growth, and apparently there's not that much copper in the modern anti-fouling paints for whatever reason. So one guy that was here in the yard, he said, you know what I do? I just order on Amazon a few pounds of copper powder, and I buy my bottom paint, and then I stir that copper powder into the bottom paint, and it increases the effectiveness of it. So I don't know if the copper has been sort of outlawed in the paint or what the deal is, but that was an interesting idea that I probably won't bother with this time around, because I'm just going to pretty much do whatever Don says to do, because I don't really want to get in an argument with him, and I know he has a great reputation for painting boats. So he's selling the stuff, I'm buying it, and he's putting it on. Well, his guys are. Did you weld the stainless rods? When I welded those stainless steel bolts on, I just used 7018 mild steel rod because my dad was here and he said that'll work, and we didn't have stainless rod, and apparently stainless rod burns a lot hotter and puts a lot of heat into the metal you're welding on, and we're kind of always trying to manage how much heat we're putting in, because we're either welding on a fuel tank, or welding with foam in the back, or welding on a bilge that is kind of oily inside, or there's just, the heat for the welding has been a constant issue. And so we just welded it with 718, and it welded fantastic. It looked good. It looked like the puddle looked great. I don't really know. I mean, I guess the weld would be prone to rusting because it's just mild steel, but now it's totally covered in Demet coat primer and, oh wait, no, it doesn't have Demet coat on, but it has the epoxy barrier on it. So honestly, those bolts, other than where their threads are, where the zincs are, the bolt heads where they were welded to the hull, should never see water in their life. I mean, that they're totally plastic dipped from the epoxy. So AK Flyer, you didn't sound arrogant to me. I have no idea. You said something about using stainless. I mean, glad to hear it's working for you guys. Nickel steel alloy. I don't really know that. I thought I knew what stainless steel was more when I came to this yard than I do now. I've learned about all these. There's so many different types of stainless. When you go to buy a prop shaft, they've got Aquamet is the standard AQ, and there's AQ. I know the common ones for shafts are 19 and 22, and the 22 is stronger and lasts longer. But the 19 has a safety factor of, I think, 7 for what my engine and propeller needs are. And so I'm getting the AQ19 one because they look for a safety factor of 5, and I'm assuming that means the strength of the steel related to the horsepower that it'll be hooked up to and the size of the shaft. So I'm getting the AQ19 to save about 30% on the cost of the shaft. And what I also learned is that colder environments are a lot better for stainless steel underwater. Warm tropical climates have higher salinity, and the warmth of the water apparently corrodes the steel faster. So that's kind of interesting. It's good for your boat to be in Alaska. So that's cool. You can weld steel with stainless. You can weld steel with stainless, but you can't weld stainless with steel. Well, I just welded steel and stainless with mild steel rods, so not sure what you're meaning. I don't really know much about this other than I saw that puddle, tie those two together, and there's no way you're gonna knock those suckers off of there at this point. So my dad has been a welder his whole career, and he's not a young guy anymore, and he said, oh yeah, you can weld stainless with 7018, no problem. And that's what we did, and it seemed like it worked. And the welder here in the yard said he welds with stainless rod usually, but he also thought 7018 would work fine, and it seems like it did for us, so we went for it. Well, folks, we've been on here an hour. Anybody have any other questions? Pretty big status update and a bunch of rambling. I'll tell you an idea I had recently. If any of you still here listening want to hear an idea, I thought, you know, our YouTube viewership is made up of mostly men in their 60s and older, which is kind of interesting. And I thought, you know, these people are like my dad, and they seem to be enjoying the content we're sharing, and they've probably lived a lot of life. And I'm not sure why you guys are enjoying this content, if it's because it reminds you of when you were young, or it is something you wish you were doing or could have done or did do, or you're just interested in it or whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure what is so appealing about this whole story and adventure to the older gentleman, but I'm curious. And I also thought, you know, if I was an old guy watching, and I know I've got a lot of comments from folks who knew what they were talking about, who obviously had experiences like they're watching me muddle my way through. So I had the idea was it would be fun if I was an old guy watching a younger guy like me do this kind of job, and it would probably make me think about myself when I was 42, and I'd probably have some words of wisdom for that young whippersnapper there in Alaska, breaking his back trying to fix that boat up. And I don't mean just like which rod to use or whatever all those very helpful tips are, but I kind of mean more in life in general. Like, what is this story that you're watching unfold with Audrey and I? What does it make you think about? And particularly in this scheme of like really looking at your whole life, what would you say? What if you had an open mic and you had my ear and Audrey's ear and you wanted to share like, son, here's the message. Here's what I wish I would have done, or here's if I could do it over, here's what I'd do, or I don't know, just a little bit of life advice relevant to what we're up to, and hopefully something to inspire other people too to pursue their dreams and get motivated enough to do the hard work and take the risk and invest their resources and leverage their youth and really do something inspirational, I guess. So I was thinking about how to ask for that advice, what that would look like. If you want to send me an email, Scott at Audrey's making comments. Scott at AlaskanViking.com. If you go to like our page and click on contact or about or whatever, oh, there it is. It's that's not the email address because there's an N. It's Alaskan Viking. She saw it. So anyhow, if you're inspired and you want to send a message, AK Flyer, that's funny. I'd love to hear it, and it would be fun to do a little video. I think it would be amazing to get a whole bunch of life advice from older guys that's kind of relevant to this type of a thing. And it could be relationship advice, it could be boating advice, it could be you know, do this when you're middle-aged and you still have more time and energy and physical abilities or whatever. I don't know, just kind of welcoming that in. If you feel inspired to share, please do, and we'll figure out a way to make a more formal or share a request for this. It's just an idea I had today. Audrey says she'd take ladies. Oh, Freddie's just right on it. He's got it already. Let's see what he says. Live in the moment, live for now, and make that your memories. And that is exactly what you guys are doing now. Thank you, Freddie. Appreciate it. Yeah, that is. I was talking to. Oh, geez, now I've done it. I was to the machinist the other day, and I remembered that when I was remodeling an enormous house and property in Homer, Alaska, that whole thing, I dreamed that I would live there forever, and it was an incredible investment, really similar to this boat in many regards, where I wasn't counting my hours and I wasn't budgeting what I invested. I was just all in. Didn't even think about it. I just knew that this was the legacy, this was my mission in life at the time, this is my calling, this is my flow, and I went in all in on that property and was going to raise my kids there and then leave it to them, and you know, just the whole married young man living out the dream. And that whole thing ended up in divorce and litigation and a total mess. But I realized that, like this boat project, and like Freddie just said, living in the moment and enjoying the journey, that's really the best you can ask for. And even though that whole dream ended up in a divorce and a mess, I don't regret it at all. I enjoyed the process. I'm proud of the work that I accomplished there. The land and that property deserved the attention and the love, and they got it. And I don't know who owns it now. I don't really care. I poured my heart into that thing, and that's what counts. And if I would have known it was going to end up in sort of a on the surface level tragic end, probably wouldn't have been very enjoyable. And it's the same with the Alaskan Gypsy here. If, you know, who knows, this boat could sink, or Audrey and I could get sick, or like something could happen where it totally derails our dream with this boat. But you know what, it's satisfying being here in the shipyard and pouring everything I've got into this boat. It feels worthy, it deserves it, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to do it, and the physical ability and the resources to be able to pull it off. And it's like, it's living in the moment, just enjoying the journey. If you're enjoying the journey, it doesn't matter where you end up. And so that's something I try and remind myself when I'm feeling overwhelmed or worrying about the finances. It's just live in the moment, enjoy what we got, and don't let the end become the focus, you know. Gotta be there present for every step, because this is fun stuff, as long as I'm not only thinking about where it leads, if I actually just take the time to enjoy what it offers today. So there's your philosophical ramblings for this Friday night, Halloween night. Thanks, Mad Kiwi. I've learned that you can teach a blind person to weld, but you cannot teach a deaf person to weld. Oh, that's funny. What a strange thing. A deaf person can't weld? Wow. That's bizarre. Hearing is so important when welding. So the bottom line is listening is learning. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of learning here in the shipyard, let me tell you what. But thanks for that comment. That's cool. When you're middle-aged, all of us say, I wish we had have done this earlier. Yeah. I'm doing okay. I'm grateful for the health I have. Audrey says, enjoying the journey and excited for what we're working towards. Okay, well, that was nice, folks. Thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure. It's fun to have you all along with us, and it's kind of like starting to feel like a little tribe, a little family. Appreciate that. Look forward to where this all goes, and thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the conversation and seeing the status of the project. We haven't been editing and posting much videos because, as you can see, I've been super busy, but things are going to be in transitional state here in the next few days, I believe, and maybe we'll start to get back to sharing some of the video content in videos instead of just lives. And till then, thanks for your patience and joining us. Jack of all trades, master of none. That's kind of me too. Lifelong learning. All right, y'all. Good night from the Alaskan Gypsy in Wrangell. I'll give you a view out the window to wrap this up. Just been sitting in the wheelhouse chatting. Thanks, Freddie. Here's a view outside. It's nice and calm. That moon is still just kind of peeking through the clouds, and it's calm. Holy cow. It's been pouring and blowing for so long, it just feels almost crazy to open the door and not have rain blowing in my face. So beautiful, still night. I'm going to heat up some deer meat that's in the crock pot, leftover ribs, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.